For many years, Nigeria's wealth has been tied to its freely given natural resource buried underground. Nigeria's oil wealth took another turn when the global price of the commodity nosedived in 2015, affecting the country's revenue purse. Not only has the coffers depleted, citizens have had to deal with a continuous hike in the price of fuel, a commodity Nigerians depend on to power their electricity generators for business and comfort as the country keeps struggling with poor power supply.
For instance, now you come to shop in the morning, the light is off, only for it to come around 6 or 7. We still buy fuel. Some of us who run Biafra still buy ice block. So where is the benefit?
In 2016, the federal government announced a full deregulation of the downstream sector of the Nigerian petroleum industry, pushing the price of fuel to about 145 naira per litre.
If you don't deploy the infrastructures into the West African countries...
The Minister of State for Petroleum, Mr. Ibe Kachiku, who made the announcement, insists the policy change in the oil sector is to increase and stabilize the supply of the product, while many Nigerian entity is free to import the product subject to existing quality specifications and other guidelines issued by the regulatory agencies. The Minister of State for Petroleum also hints that oil marketers will be allowed to import PMS on the basis of forex procured by secondary sources, and accordingly, Petroleum Product Pricing Regulatory Agency template will reflect this in the pricing of the product. In the wake of the announcement on pump price, the country witnessed weeks of destabilization with long lines of kegs at fuel stations which either refuse to sell or sell at cutthroat price above government-approved price of 145 naira per litre. Aggression hits its peak across the country, where power outage has become a nightmare. Nigeria in the last 5 years consistently spent over 1 trillion naira, that is about $5 billion annually on petrol subsidies. The deregulation of the downstream sector aims to open up the sector to private investors to invest in the sector by building refineries, a move aimed at tackling incessant scarcity of petrol due to importation. Since the country slumped into recession in 2016, the cost of living and doing businesses has skyrocketed. The deafening cry by Nigerians may have attracted the attention of lawmakers. A committee of the House of Representatives commences a public hearing to consider the downward review of the pump price of petrol in the country. At this gathering are also oil marketers and representatives of departments and agencies in the country's petroleum sector. The chairman of the committee says the House is concerned about the general increase in the cost of goods and services as a result of the increase in the price of petrol to 145 naira per litre.
Though the increase was said to eliminate payment of subsidy by government and the attendant fraud, however, justification have to be given on the 145 naira per litre being charged, and if Nigerians are getting value from the agencies who earn income from the price templates of petrol. Can Nigerians be paying the cost of capital by importers and dealers? Can Nigerians be paying for lightering services when there are agencies whose duties are to dredge our sea? How effective and transparent is the bridging claims? These and many other questions will help the committee to arrive at an informed conclusion. The committee will thus be interested in discovering how transparent the price fixing process is. One would wonder, whereas the crude oil benchmark and the volume of daily oil production in Nigeria is fixed by government with participation and approval of the Parliament through the medium-term expenditure framework and the financial strategy plan. But that of petrol price template is done in isolation by the executive agencies.
The hearing commences after an oath taken to speak nothing but the truth by representatives of some government agencies in the petroleum sector.
Shall be the whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
It's a public hearing on the review of the pump price of petrol in the country by taking a critical look at the pricing template of government.
Director General, Department of State Security here.
The chairman outlined some of the questions the committee is seeking answers to.
We had called for justification of the cost elements contained in that cost structure so that we be convinced that Nigerians are having value for their money. And any other information or material which you deem will be necessary to make your case here and also to aid the committee in this assignment. So you have the floor now.
Honorable Chairman, permit me to give an insight to some of the elements captured in our present template. The present template, as approved on May 2016, has the following cost components. 1, product cost. The average cost of product as quoted on Platts, being the reference spot market, is FOB Rotterdam batch. As at the time that decision was taken, Platts was $491.2 per metric ton, while freight was just $22.61. As I speak to you today, Platts is $557.75 per metric ton, while freight is $23.84. Freight, the average clean tanker freight rate, it is the cost of transporting product from the standard route of Northwest Europe to West Africa. Lightering expenses, because of the peculiar situation we have in Nigeria, there's draft. Larger vessel has to lighter to smaller vessel. This is the STS or local freight charge. The cost incurred on the transshipment of imported petroleum products from the mother vessel into daughter vessels to allow for onward movement of the vessel into the jetty. Admin charge, PPRA admin charge.
It will be right to say that the admin charge in this template is accruable to PPRA. We want to ask you to explain to the committee why this charge.
The issue of the admin charge was taken at the stakeholders meeting sequel to the introduction of the subsidy scheme. Since PPPRA doesn't have the capability because we don't have trained cargo inspectors, certified trained cargo inspectors, there was need for us to engage certified cargo inspectors and deploy them to virtually every part of the coastal area. In addition, we need to also deploy our staff to all the depots nationwide. And the only way out, since we had no enough overhead to cover that, the issue of admin charge was introduced. The admin charge, as it is today, is to take care of the expenses incurred in the cost of maintaining cargo inspectors and as well, see to the operations of all our field offices that are scattered all over the nation.
The chairman seems not to be satisfied with the PPPRA's presentation.
This is the 2016 budget. And we're aware that we approved a whopping 1.13 billion. With your presentation, we are made to believe that you are only trying to deceive this committee. And in that case, this cost element is being queried.
Mr. Chairman, the admin charge, as earlier posited, is not only for the payment of cargo inspectors, but also to augment, the cost of our operations, because we are all aware that what is provided as overhead is not enough to cater for PPRA operations. And the issue of removal of subsidy and why still retaining the admin charge. Even in a deregulated regime, there is always regulation. And though subsidy removed, but PPRA need actually to further strengthen its operations, and thus the need for the continuation of the collection of that admin charge to as well cover operation cost and take care of the inspectors that we also engage.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) in January 2016 disclosed that the Kaduna, Port Harcourt and Warri refineries now produce over 6.76 million liters of petrol per day. The NNPC projected to increase combined production to over 10 million liters per day by the end of January 2016. This was expected to stabilize supply and distribution in the country while cutting down on importation of the product. However, the giant strides may have paled into oblivion with the militant attacks on oil and gas installations, which plunged Nigeria's oil production to a 20-year low in 2016. By May 2016, Nigerian oil production had fallen to 1.4 million barrels per day. After repairs and in the absence of major new attacks, some of the disrupted production were restored and crude oil output averaged 1.6 million barrels per day in June 2016.
Your comments are noted.
The House Committee probes into the price template for petrol produced locally.
How do I distinguish the products that was imported, which is higher, and the product that is locally manufactured here, produced in Nigeria, so that I can buy? Because the price is uniform, and the markets do not seem to distinguish between the products that are refined here locally and the one that is imported.
According to your submission, the price of the locally refined is normally lower than the imported. Who are the people benefited from that?
The template, we have two templates that we operate. We have template for locally produced product, PMS, and then for imported. So the locally, refined products price is always based on a template lower than what is imported, and we always capture that volume and pay and calculate the necessary tariff based on what we do capture. The locally refined product is actually managed by the NNPC. And if you recall, at the onset of the introduction of the appropriate pricing framework, we created a band of 135 to 145. And that band, you see NNPC mega stations were actually selling lower what other marketers were selling. And the element of the differential could be seen because of that aspect of the volume that was injected as refined petroleum product.